Okay, everybody, I'm back with another review, but this time it is not a television review. It is a book review. The Men of Brewster Place by Gloria Naylor, the sequel to The Women of Brewster Place. Um, I've long been a fan of that movie. Ever since I was a kid, I probably saw it the first time it aired. I was 3. I was in stitches at the meatloaf scene. You know what I'm talking about? So yeah, this is the sequel to that novel, and it would be really interesting to see this sequel turned into a movie because there's a lot of great stuff in here that would be movie worthy. So I'm gonna try to get through this real quick and try to keep it as spoiler free as possible because this is a book that you really need to read. If you are a black man trying to understand emotions better and get through what you got going on, it's for you. If you're a black woman and you want to understand black men a little bit better, um yeah, read this book. It really does not make excuses for what a lot of the guys did. It just tells you why they are like they are. So first up we have Ben. He gets through his story. He, in the original book, we read about his daughter and that whole situation with his wife, how horrible his wife was, how basically his daughter ended up being helpless because his wife was so domineering and Ben was so fearful of standing up to her. Um, so he gets into his background about how his grandparents were slaves at one time. He grew up around them, and then when they passed away, he moved to Memphis and worked at a hotel, was a shoe shine boy. He aspired to be a porter because at the time, his time, it was like that was one of the best jobs a black man could have. Black man could have. But he met his wife Elvira. At the time he met her, she seemed much better than she was. But when they moved to the country because she had a chronic cough, and became sharecroppers, it just was evident that she was not who he thought she was. But anyway, I don't want to spoil the story too much for you, but basically it's mostly just background on Ben. No real surprises in that one. So second, we have Brother Jerome. Basically, this is about a character who was not in the Women of Brewster Place. He's a prodigy, a oh gosh, I've lost the word. A developmentally disabled piano prodigy, and he just can play the piano so well. It's just like cathartic. His music is like cathartic to the residents of Brewster Place, and all of that. I don't want to spoil it too much because this is one of the parts in this book that I think is very movie worthy. This story, yeah. Um, so next we have Basil. So basically, Basil comes back looking for redemption, looking for his mom. Doesn't quite work out for him. And I won't spoil it, but he gets a pretty good, juicy story in this. And another reason why this should be made into a movie. I'm not kidding. Really good stuff, really good stories here. Then we get into Eugene, and this is now where his story goes. You would have never seen it coming from the Women of Brewster Place. I mean, from that novel, you would just think, hey, he's just a guy who hates responsibility. He just wants to be on his own. He got married and he shouldn't have, and now he's like, I don't want none of this. More than meets the eye with that one. And when you read it, it's just like is a whoo shock to the system, but please check out the book. Now we're gonna get into Moreland Woods, who is the minister that Etta Mae thought she was gonna turn into a husband, but he was just another motel memory. You remember that one? Anyway, so he's definitely the most intelligent most crafty, most devious character in either of the novels. I mean, this guy is just, he's a mess. There's his story is a little bit funny in parts. Um, but yeah, so again, movie worthy, movie worthy. Um, Next we have CC Baker, who most disgusting character. I mean, without a doubt, just repugnant, just gross. Um, it doesn't, like I said, this novel doesn't make excuses for any of the men. It just gives their backstory and why they are the way they are. CC's story just, it just, it just shows, it just reaffirms what a horrible person he is. I mean, basically, like the way he grew up, like he embraced the streets from an early age. He pretty much wanted to be who he turned out to be. So, yeah, but there's movie worthy material in that story too. I don't want to spoil it, but you know, it expands on his story. It talks about his family and all that, and yeah. Now let's talk about Abshu, Mr. Abshu. So, Abshu, his story is tied a lot to Moreland Woods. Because Abshu is the activist. He's the activist. He's very committed to Brewster Place. You read it, you read this book, you'll see that he loves Brewster Place more than anybody in these pair of novels. He actually loves it. And to be frank, there's really nobody that like loved the place. Most of them just existed in it. Nobody loved the place but Abshu. And there's comedy in this story. So, and I think it would go very well on screen. And then the last story is the barber shop. And there are characters in there that were not in the Women of Brewster Place. Like Brother Jerome at the beginning of the novel, he's not in the Women of Brewster Place. So these are standalone characters. And yeah, so pretty much the barbershop is like, it's a big metaphor for black men as a whole. It's like, you know, barbershop is where black men go to talk things out. It's like, you know, it's sort of like screaming like to black men, deal with your emotions, don't be afraid of them, talk things out. You know, don't leave your fellow brother to just like wallow in despair and pity and pain, because pretty much it's like men cry too. And I'm getting like kind of like in my feelings about that now that I think about it. It's like, ooh. And this is, I think this is the perfect novel for a man who wants to understand emotions and how to let them out, because it pretty much teaches you everything not to do when it comes to emotions. It teaches you not to become toxic because of them. It teaches you not to become toxic because of your circumstances. Um, and yeah, so I don't want to ramble on too much, but check out the book. You can get it at your library, probably. Just Google that, see if it's at your library. And if you can't get it, you can actually borrow it on archive.org. Just search it up on there. You'll be able to find a place to borrow it online. You can do 1 hour borrowing. you just renew it after you've been reading for an hour. Um, so yeah, so that's my review of The Men of Brewster Place. Tell me if you've read the novel, what you think of it, and tell me if you're going to read the novel. And if you watch this review and then read the novel, come back and let me know what you thought of the novel. Yeah, so I'm gonna see you later. Bye.